Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Consecrated podcast.
My name is Beef 2. This is my older brother, Fedhii. And if you're new here, we are two siblings that love Jesus and love talking about Jesus.
We do. We believe that Jesus paid for way more than we are experiencing today on the earth. And so we have devoted our lives to pursuing the more of God. And we made this podcast to invite you on that journey with us.
If you want to partner with us in our mission to help seeing people around the world burn more for Jesus, we are a nonprofit. So if you go to www.theconsecratedpodcast.com, you can sow into us financially, prayerfully, in any way that you feel led.
We love you all and enjoy the episode.
Welcome back, everyone. We're back. And
What's that?
we were just mid-laugh because our little brother yesterday, I also died when he said that. Our little brother yesterday sent something in the family group chat, which it was basically like an AI video and the caption was, "What happens when you hold in a fart?" And the fart was going inside the person's body and was making the person's body like really big and bloated.
expanding. It was so fake, obviously.
It was so fake.
We were dying.
I was dying laughing. Also,
because he can't hold it in.
He can't hold it in, and that's the big thing.
Dang, this is so crazy how we're exposing him. This is really
We
sad.
really do expose him a lot on this podcast, but he doesn't listen,
I don't think
it's okay.
Oh, I was going to say he doesn't care. Wow.
He doesn't. No, he doesn't. One time but when we first started talking about him, I sent him a clip and I said, "Do you care if I post this?" And he was like, "You never have to ask my permission. It's okay. You guys can talk about me whenever you want." So,
Oh, okay, cool.
yeah, he's fine.
Well, he's gassy.
He's so gassy, and we always are, as a family, it's just a family thing that, you know, if you're with Witty, you yell at him because he farts, like, in the most inconvenient places. In the car.
Restaurant table.
On our road trip. Dinner table. Yeah, like, so inconvenient.
It's a little crazy.
But what's funny is, one, he sent that video to come at us to say this is why.
Oh, I thought he was defending himself.
Yeah, that's what he was. To say this is why I can't hold in a fart because this is what happens when I hold in a fart.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's defending himself.
Yeah.
But also the second thing that killed me was the first comment on that video.
I would rather lose a friend than hold it in, right?
The first comment on the video with the most likes said, "I would rather lose a friend than hold in a fart."
Hey.
So good. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, Olivia could not stop laughing at that one.
Yeah.
She thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. We had a conversation. She asked me about that, about how our family's just like...
You're really gassy.
Yeah. And why that is. And, you know, we don't know.
Yeah. I thought it was milk. I thought maybe because I was like, I drink
because
too
we're
much
lactose
milk.
intolerant. We still, to this day, at our grown age, drink glasses of milk.
That's probably my number one beverage. Maybe after water.
Yeah, me too.
I'll just have a tall glass of milk with any meal.
And it's so good.
It slaps.
Is there ever a time that you're
With good ice cream.
specifically eating a meal and you're like, a glass of milk with
would
this
hit right
would
now.
be so good?
I'm going to ask this waitress if they have milk here.
Have you done that before? No way. Have you done that before?
Not at like a full-blown thing, but I've done it at like a Waffle House or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, they have like breakfast food. That's
Yeah.
funny. Next
Yeah.
time I go to an Indian restaurant, I should do that.
They're going to look at you really funny, probably.
Yeah, but
Who cares?
add joy to everybody's day.
I stopped
so-
at school. I stopped in college, but then I started back up again. The
You
reason I
stopped
think
drinking milk?
Yeah.
Really?
In college, yeah.
Why? Because everyone was like roasting
Well,
you?
I don't think was it even an option? Was there even milk
Yeah.
there? There was.
Remember there was a lever that you pull up and then you put your cup in there?
For
It was by
milk?
the cereal. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah. It was in
So-
college that I realized that nobody drinks milk
Yeah.
anymore.
but I didn't even think like it wasn't just like, oh, nobody drinks milk, I'm gonna stop. It just I would go to the fountain thing and just get like
A beverage.
water or
Yeah.
lemonade or.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't. I'd go to breakfast.
You'd get milk?
Oh my gosh, yeah. My
Oh,
friends would
wow.
roast me for it. I'd go to breakfast.
cares?
I'd get
I would get orange juice with
Blade
ice though. That was my drink in the morning.
with ice.
Ooh, orange. Have you ever had orange juice with ice?
I don't really like orange juice, but with ice is
Slaps.
interesting. Do you know some people drink milk with ice? Oh. No. Anyways, as we chew on that, welcome back to another episode. Welcome back to the podcast.
As we chew on that.
Welcome back. We're here with another episode, and my brother.
We got a journal entry.
We got another journal entry. Wow, in the beginning was giving journal entry. We were just talking about farting and milk and all the things.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another journal
I'm
entry.
excited for today. This one's going to be a good one. I am. It's a journal entry, of course, because it's something that it's still impacting me and transforming me. And I think it has actually the possibility to like give us a lot of freedom and I don't know, honestly, I kind of feel like I'm a little emotional just thinking about it. So I'm excited for this one. Like usual, I'm going to read an encounter and just going to give my quick debrief about what I believe Jesus was saying, and then, we'll hear your thoughts as well. And like I said, I think internalizing this will give us a lot of freedom, specifically in our relationships with each other. So I'm excited for that. Before I read the encounter, though, we're going to anchor this in John chapter 2.
Oh, I love John. Juan.
Juan capítulo 2.
Versículo.
Well, actually, I'm going to start this back a little. I'm going to start this I'll do 23. So John chapter 2, verse 23. And
Go ahead, don't wait for me.
It says, "Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover feast, many believed in his name when they saw the signs that he was doing. But Jesus, on his part, did not entrust himself to them, because he knew all people, and needed no one to bear witness about man, for he himself knew what was in man." So I'll read 24 again. "But Jesus, on his part, did not entrust himself to them, because he knew all people, and needed no one to bear witness about man, for he himself knew what was in man." Okay? Keep that verse in mind as I read this. I'm getting before the Lord. I'm praying. I'm asking Jesus, what's on your heart? And he starts talking to me about broken people in the currently fractured and tattered state that we live in today, and what that means for our relationships with each other. Okay, and he communicates this to me again through a picture, as he often does. So I'm going to read this. "I saw an army of tattered people. The Spirit of God was among them, moving like a mist around their feet. These people were made up of both traumatizing and damaging moments, but also moments that reflected God's love for them." So this will explain this a little bit more. "For example, I saw one woman in particular who had one good leg. Looking at the bottom of her about the bottom of her leg around her foot, I saw an image. As I looked at her foot, I saw an image. This is the foot of her good leg. I saw an image flashing over my eyes of her as a little girl in the warm and loving embrace of her mother. And this leg was, quote unquote, standing on these moments of love and affection. And the leg looked healthy. The skin was clear and it was vibrant. I looked up at her face now, and one side of her face was healthy and vibrant, just like that leg. But the other side of her face was decaying, and there were massive holes in her face, exposing her skull, and I saw a worm climbing through the hole in her skull where her eye would have been set. The rest of her body reflected this condition, one part healthy, the other destroyed. Everyone else in the army was in the same condition. Then I saw a small section of this army start to move together in unison. Their movements, the movements they were making, almost like a choreographed dance that had been imprinted upon the healthy parts of each person. So they were flowing from something that was within, and within specifically the healthy parts of them, and the movements were natural, they were organic. Then I saw the poison of the unhealthy side, almost like an acid form. It was like sulfur. I don't know what sulfur looks like, but I imagine it being like sulfur. Like acid forming a boundary around the healthy parts of each of them. Like a dark chemical substance burning down the boundaries of a land. If you imagine like an island, but the water is not water. It's like this chemical that is burning down the boundaries and pushing back the land. As this was happening, I heard some of them say in their hearts, "This is making it hard to continue moving together in unison." They pushed forward with great effort and intention, but their movements were becoming increasingly difficult. And I said, watching this, I said, "Oh no, they are going to stop. They're not going to be able to keep doing this." Then just outside that ring, in this little collection of the army, just outside of that ring of people moving together in unison, I saw a little boy.
And he was standing just outside the ring, and he was looking up at these adults, and he was mesmerized by their movements. And to him, it looked magical. I saw it for a second from his perspective. It looked even more magical than it looked from my perspective. And he turned as he was looking at this little connection of people moving together in unison. He turned and saw among them someone that he knew. And it was as though I could tell he was related to the person. It was like it was his uncle or something. And the boy was drawn to his uncle. And the boy reached forward to touch his uncle's chest. So he is drawn to his uncle. He goes up to him and he reaches his hand out. And he reaches forward to touch his heart. And as soon as he made contact with his uncle, immediately it was like the boy aged 10 years in an instant. And now he looked like a teenager. And immediately I saw this dark and broken look enter into his eyes. And then this boy started to have this, I watched the same sulfur, like chemical material start to burn inside of him from the inside out. He was whole. His body, he was not half tattered, half destroyed like everybody else. He was whole. And as this chemical was burning him from the inside out, I watched him start with his torso. One side of his torso was being burned through and opened up, and then his rib cage was showing, and I saw worms starting to pour out. And I looked on with sadness, knowing that this boy would also damage others in the same way that his uncle damaged him. I continued watching this army, and I noticed that there were practices that they had a habit of engaging in, which seemed to reinforce the healthy parts of them. But they remained part healthy, part deteriorated. Continuing down the healthy path seemed to be a viable option for them, but the darkness seemed to have such a hold on them that it was unclear if they'd ever be willing to give it up. So, saddened about the state of these people, I thought to myself, and I'm just sitting there looking at them, and I thought to myself, I do not expect a thing from these people. Then the image zoomed out, and I saw Jesus with his hand stretched out over the army. "This is my bride," he said. I looked down at the people from his aerial view, and from there I could not see healthy and deteriorated. Instead, I saw individuals with names. I felt the edges of his deep commitment to each individual, as if it was like the sunshine radiating and the edges of the flames of his love. I was feeling the edges of it, and I felt this deep commitment that he had in his heart for each individual. And then he said, "But this is the state that she's in."
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the reason that I had to start this in John chapter 2, I'm going to try to convey the main thing that this produced in me, or it is producing. Again, it's a journal entry, so it's still transforming me. But the effect that it was having on me is the same thing that I hear in John chapter 2, verse 24, when it says that Jesus on his part did not entrust himself to them because he knew all people, and he did not need anyone to bear witness about man, for he knew himself what was in man. I don't know. The thing that I struggled with this topic was I did not know how to communicate it, and I still don't, in a way that is not despairing or like, the point of this is not to just be like, well, humans are just an utter wreck, and you can't expect anything from them, because the gospel, and because of the glorious hope of the gospel and what Jesus has made available to us. It's what this whole podcast is about. There's so much more available in Jesus than any of us ever imagined was possible. But I also think that it's important for us to be realistic about the current state of man. And then when I started this off, I started by saying that I think that this episode or this conversation, if I internalize what Jesus is trying to communicate here, I think that this has the potential to help me actually love people a lot better and bring me and us, if we internalize this, a lot of freedom.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Imagine you have a friend who has a history of mental illness. And this friend has battled mental illness his entire life, let's say. In and out of bouts of depression, anxiety, maybe even suicidal ideation, self-harm, okay? And this person is currently going through a bout of all of these things that I just described, right? So he's in the trenches. And you go and you visit this friend, okay? The way that you interact with this friend you're going to keep his context in mind. You're not going to come into his apartment demanding, let's call him Jonathan. Jonathan, what are you doing? Like, I expected that you didn't show up for me at my graduation. You didn't come to my ex, or I really thought that you would reach out to me on my birthday and XYZ. Like, you wouldn't do all of that because you're looking at Jonathan on the floor. He's a shell of himself. You've seen him when he's more himself and more healthy, but you see him in the condition that he's in, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to put any additional weight or pressure on this person. Yeah. As much as he is doing everything that he can, like, he's in a tough spot.
Yeah.
And that informs the way that you interact with him, right?
Yeah.
This is the feeling that I had when I was looking at this army. Jesus didn't appear in the picture until the very end. For the majority of what I just shared, I was just looking at this half healthy, half deteriorated army. And the feeling that I had looking at these people was, I do not expect anything from you. You are a mess. Like, wow, amazing. There are parts of you that are so healthy and vibrant. And it looks like there are some activities that you've been engaged in which are like helping to reinforce those parts of you. This is maybe the most bleak of everything I'll say. To be completely honest, those activities, they weren't really moving the needle much. They were still part deteriorated, part healthy. And even though that was true, I still knew that if they continued down the path of life, that this sulfur-like material that was eating away at their flesh and causing them to become like just the unhealthy side that they were, could be drastically reduced, if not in the end eliminated. But that was not something that I could see from my vantage point. At that point, I was only just seeing these people I don't think are able to actually find their way out of this. And seeing that, even wanting the best for them, wanting them to move in the direction of health, being heartbroken over the little boy who showed up healthy but ended up tattered in the same condition they were in, left me with this feeling like I cannot actually expect anything from them.
So wait, can I ask, what do you
Please.
feel like? What do you feel like through this encounter that you had with the Lord that He was trying to talk to you about? Your expectation of man in relationship. Did you get a new water bottle?
This is in my cabinet. People just leave stuff in my house.
And you just used it?
And I cleaned it out and used it, yeah.
Okay, based off of this encounter, what do you feel like the Lord's trying to specifically touch on? Is He trying to touch on your heart posture of expectation towards man? Is He trying to touch on the reality of the broken? Like, what is the main?
Upon realizing that humans are in a deteriorated state, the end result for me is compassion. Rather than positioning my heart towards them in a place of expectation, it's not an accident that before verse 24, in verse 23, it describes the current state of people having experienced the power of Jesus in the miracles that He was performing, right? It starts off by saying, basically, they were headed in the right direction. Now when He was in Jerusalem at the Passover feast, many believed in His name when they saw the signs that He was doing. In this, you should hear, okay, they're seeing and bearing witness to the Son of God being from God. This is Jesus. They're like, okay, whoa. Many believed in His name. But immediately after that comes, but Jesus on his part did not trust himself to them because he knew all people. Okay? Now, there's also another, I didn't earmark this, so I don't know exactly where this is, but there's another chapter that talks about how he looks out over the people and he says something to the effect of, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how I wanted to gather you to me," like a hen gathers her chicks or something like that, right? And he had compassion on the people because it says they were like sheep without a shepherd. Okay? So this is, the first is the understanding of the state that humans are in. When I interact with, let's just make this personal. When I interact with you, I might be hopeful, because also it does that love hopes all things. I might be hopeful that you can choose the right thing. And that you can choose to love and choose to live out of who Jesus says you are. And that you can choose to die to the flesh and begin to reflect Jesus more fully. I can hope that you might do that. But I also might not entrust myself to you. I might not, because looking at you, I see that there is a healthy you and then there is a deteriorated you.
Yeah.
And I know that that is your, it's not to pull us down. It's not to like, it's to give us an honest look, because here's the deal. It's like the kingdom is this weird, like already not yet kind of reality. Jesus saves us and he puts on us white garments and robes, and in his eyes we are made righteous and new, and all of our sins are forgotten about, right? But our current state, where we are today, is that we still partly reflect the world and partly reflect God. And the heartbreak of the story that I just shared was there was a child looking up at his uncle with this magical, wonder-filled eyes. His eyes were, he was watching as they were engaging, these adults were engaging in a healthy dance. It was, like I said, choreographed. It was like a choreographed dance. It was something beautiful was happening as this little boy was watching it all play out. It looked magical. It was like Disneyland. His eyes were big and wide with wonder. He was watching as all these people move together in this beautiful way. And, oh, look, there's my uncle. And so he goes and he reaches for him, and instantly there's pain. Like instantly he's shattered, and he ages 10 years in an instant. And now this darkness is inside of him, eating away at him too. There was a youthful innocence, and even like, I don't know how to say this word, naivete? Naivete? Is that how you say it? Naivete? I don't know. It's like naive. It's like he was young and he was naive. Oh, you look so lost. You're like, I never seen that word before.
I ain't never. Was that French or something? Because I ain't never heard that before in my life.
There was like this youthful innocence, and he was like, oh, like and here's what he saw. He saw life. Like he saw life in these people. Yeah. He saw evidence of life. Yeah. And like what he was seeing was not like, it wasn't bad or even inaccurate. Like it wasn't that he had a weird like lens over his eyes that caused him to like miss, oh, it wasn't actually good. No, there was good. And there was good coming from the good. There were good parts of them, and good things were coming from the good. Okay?
There were good things in these people that he was looking at.
That were bearing good fruit.
Yeah.
And he was watching it, and he was watching it all in unison, and he was drawn to it as a result.
Yeah.
I think what Jesus is inviting us into is a sobriety. Okay? To be sober-minded. To be aware of the current state of his bride. That in sometimes she will reflect him well.
Yeah.
There will be times where she reflects him as she yields herself over to him and is transformed into his likeness. There will be times that look so beautiful, they look even magical. And you'll be drawn to it. But Jesus is like grabbing us by the cheeks and looking us in the eye, and he's saying, hey, I need you to at the same time understand that there is still a lot of death and darkness in them. And you handing your heart over to them, like this little boy handing his heart over to his uncle, you will experience pain from those same hands that you saw beauty come from. He's wanting us to be sober and aware of the fact that even those who do their very best to reflect Christ to us are themselves, there are parts of them that are hollowed out. You can see their flesh and their bone. Their skin has been ripped off. It's like tattered and there are worms rolling out. It's not God. There are parts of the people that we admire most that are not God.
Yeah.
There are parts of the church that we admire that are not God.
Yeah.
And there is something powerful, I think, in a protection coming from this, like the arms of our loving Father that is looking to keep us, a protective nature in the Father that's looking to keep us from a harm that we might experience from doing what? Entrusting ourselves to man. Because it says that Jesus, on his part, did not entrust himself to them because he knew all people and needed no one to bear witness about man, for he himself knew what was in man. So he saw the magic. They were starting to get it. They're seeing Jesus. They're seeing the miracles. They're starting to believe. He sees the magic, but he does not go like the child does. He keeps himself. He guards himself. He on his part does not entrust himself to man, for he did not need anyone to bear witness to him about man. He already knew himself what was in man.
Also, if you read before that scripture, it's when he cleanses the temple. He just had a physical interaction with the brokenness of man.
Yeah.
Literally inside of the temple.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's such a great picture of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
These people are inside the temple, operating inside the temple.
Commerce, they're trading.
And they're trading.
Yeah. It's like
trading for salvation.
Money changers. In the temple, he found those who were selling oxen and sheep and pigeons and money changers sitting there, and making a whip of cords, he drove them all out of the temple with the sheep and oxen, and poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. And he told those who sold pigeons, "Take these things away. Do not make my father's house a house of trade." You're not reflecting me well.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, you're in the temple. This is supposed to be a house of prayer. And you are making it a den of thieves, it says in another gospel.
Yeah.
So he was always aware, right? Like
Yeah.
he was acquainted with the condition of man.
Right.
What happens then? Let's ask this question. What happens? I find myself I'm like so thankful to God for his protective nature. Like, so thoughtful that he would point this out. What a small passage. It literally is one verse.
Yeah.
But he's like, hey, I put that in there for a reason. Like, I do want you to understand that I'm doing marvelous things in the church. And there will be times where you will look in the eyes of one of my followers and you actually see me. Mm-hmm. And you'll see my love for you. And you will see my, the lady who had, at the beginning of the encounter that I read, one good leg built upon this image of love. God's heart and love had been conveyed to her, and she based her life in some way off of this loving foundation. God got across. The heart of God got across to her through her mother, and she was part healthy as a result of that. And he's saying, listen, there are going to be times where you do that, where you see that, where my kids are yielded to me and I come through them and you'll experience my love through them. But if you put yourself in their arms, as a little child, if you put yourself in their arms, you're going to get hurt. This is going to hurt.
So then, okay, I'm an extremist. So then would you say that...
Are you an extremist?
What?
You're an extremist, huh?
I don't know. That felt like the right thing to say. You don't think I'm an extremist?
I don't know.
Okay, well, no. I don't know. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. So then would you say, okay, I'm listening to you and I'm like, okay, no, I hear you. There have been moments where in the same person, I can see God moving so clearly, but then I also experienced hurt from that same person, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm just trying to find, okay, so then are you saying that we shouldn't fully entrust ourselves to any man?
I think this is the application of this message. Okay. The application of this message is temper your expectations.
Temper
them.
Okay.
Temper your expectations. Do not
Elaborate more.
look at me with this, because you will have hope. You will hope that I will continue to give myself to God and begin to reflect Him to you tomorrow in a way that I was not able to today, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you ought to temper your expectations. Temper your expectations. Understand, especially as somebody's walking towards God and you look to them, like let's take the mother or like the uncle, right? The reason that the damage that the uncle did to the boy was so drastic was because this uncle was moving in a healthy way. He was admirable. Like the boy looked up to his uncle, not just his uncle, but these people who were doing this beautiful dance together. There was something beautiful about the way that they moved together that was admirable. And so he would not have been drawn. It was like, like the cartoons where they're like drawn up by the smell of food. He would not have been drawn up to his uncle that way if he had not seen the goodness that was coming through his uncle.
Yeah.
But temper your expectations, son, is what I would tell him. Temper your expectations. The same uncle who you are seeing the evidence of God's hand on is the same uncle who will show you Satan himself. You will see Satan himself, and then there will be this twisted image in your mind, because now you're like, oh my, wait, what? I thought this was good. If I could describe to you the look in his eyes, like when he aged in an instant and this darkness filled his eyes, it was like a disillusionment. It was like both darkness and disillusionment at the same time, because he had so much hope for good. There was a hope for good in his intimate that he had, wait, I saw it. I saw good. There was good there. And then there's this disillusionment starting to like this dark cloud starting to fill his eyes. And now there's like this, what's the word? He's like, it's like tainted, what's the word? When people say I'm jaded, there's like this jadedness that was starting to like show up in his eyes because he was good and there was so much good and he saw it. And then all of a sudden there's like, wait, but what is this? I thought there was good. And God's saying, wait, no, don't go. There is good. There is good. Don't go. What you saw, that was me. Stay here. I just need you to recognize that in the same person that you saw good, there is also evil.
And I think if we were to zoom out and to look at this, I think there are a lot of examples where people didn't manage their expectations of the church and got super hopeful and, had the expectations up here and had certain people on a pedestal and then got hurt. And because their expectations weren't managed, the hurt completely drive them away from the church or completely drive them away from a person, completely, like fill in the blank, So I can see what you're saying in terms of this being the kindness of God. I can see it in how it's actually him trying to protect us and keep us unified and keep us connected, because the expectation is just tricky. We did talk about this recently. Expectation is so tricky. And if it's not managed well, the pain of unmet expectations can ruin a lot. Like it can ruin relationships. It can ruin the way that you look at God, because if you have this like picture of someone in your head and they really know God and they really love God and they're this perfect person, they're on a pedestal a little bit, and you haven't managed your expectations of that person, not only could it taint your relationship with a person, it could taint your relationship with God. It could taint a lot. It could make you jaded towards man in general. And it all comes down to this like this lack of just this lack of like managing expectation. But even when in the encounter, I think of the kid, and it's kind of sad because it's like he's just a kid who wants to hope the best in people, who is naive and childlike and wants to believe good of everyone. But it is a sobering reality that like we're all broken and we are all fail each other at some point. I will hurt you at some point. You will hurt me at some point. I will hurt our little brother at some point. Even if we're all attempting to live this life where we're like chasing after the Lord and trying to grow and trying to become like him, we're still on earth. Like the reality is we're still broken, And no matter how hard I try on this side of heaven, I don't know if that's attainable where I don't have the little critters.
And it's not like, I talk so much about the power of the cross, and I spend so much time at Calvary, and like, I don't want this subject to like ever feel like we're like minimizing Jesus's transformative power in our lives. That remains exactly as is, you know? As I was looking at these people, like, at the end, I read, there was a way for them to move towards health, but darkness had such a grip on them that it was unclear whether or not they'd ever be willing to actually walk away from that darkness. Okay? Jesus's power is always there. And it, like, for me personally, like, if we're talking about this from the perspective of like, how should this inform the way that we view one another and the expectations that we might have for one another? But for me, myself, like, if I understand internally that I am deteriorating on one side and healthy on another, right? Like, this does not minimize the transformative power of Jesus. He remains transformative, right? But this is the acknowledgement of my current state.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also want to say, now, we might have to come back to this another time because we're coming close to time here. But we had mentioned really briefly that this has a lot to say about the way that we put people on a pedestal within the church. And that's absolutely true. But here is why this is a journal entry.
Why?
Here is why this is like personal to me. The reason that this is a journal entry is because this informs not the way that I view leaders in the church, but this informs the way that I view the people who are closest to me in my life, the people who have hurt me, and the people who I know will continue to hurt me. There is a little boy in me that hopes for the best from each of these relationships, from the individuals in the relationship. Like, I look to these people in my life who have hurt me, and I hope for the best in each of them. I look to them in my heart, not because I try to, but because I instinctively, intuitively hope for good from them, because they mean something to me. And so my heart waits to receive good from them and to receive love from them. Not because I want to expect that, but just because I find myself longing for it. I see that little boy in myself, specifically as it relates to relationships in my life. Friends, family, like the closest people to me. I'm not talking acquaintances, I'm talking the closest people to me. The people who I gave myself to and opened my heart to. When I do that, those are the ones that are the most prone to receive some level of expectation from me, that I might hope for something from them because I've given them access to me in a way, you know? And I think a really interesting thought experiment could be, how would that vision of the boy in the army, in the tattered army, been different if the boy had tempered his expectations, knowing what was in the heart of man? How would that picture have ended differently?
Yeah.
What would he have done? What would his behavior have looked like? And what would his end state have looked like if he had understood? How would he have interacted with his uncle? What does interaction with his uncle look like if he knew, oh, there's good in him, but also there's some stuff that's still waiting to be redeemed. Still waiting to be touched by God. I'm still figuring this out. Like, this is, again, why it's a journal entry. Like, I know that the thing that I wrestle with is hope versus tempered expectations.
Yeah.
This is
Me too.
This is why this is a current wrestle for me.
Yeah.
Because I know that love hopes all things. And I want to hope for the best in these people whom I love. But also, I want to temper my expectations, knowing what's in their heart.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a fine line. Because I was even thinking, if you go too far into the tempered expectations side, you could fall into self-protection, isolation, I just have to do this on my own. I fully can't trust anybody, and the reality is, like, if you're trying to do this on your own, you're also going to miss out on the good within the people too.
Yeah.
So that like, it's just a fine line to walk between
Yeah.
having hope and tempering your expectations, because
Yeah.
you don't want to go too far one way. If you go too far into the hope category,
Yeah.
you could get hurt. And like I said, what you said before, all the symptoms of having too much hope in a person and then getting hurt. But then if you go too far in the tempered expectations category, it could lead to isolation.
Yeah.
It's just a very fine line.
What I like to think, and maybe this is the last thing, at least on my end, before maybe we can do a part 2. But what I would like to think, I know we're running on time here, running low on time. What I would like to think is this boy, this image, this hypothetical that we painted, how would the picture have looked different? I did not see an alternate version of this picture. I'm just thinking, what could it have looked like had he tempered his expectations? And this is me filling in the blanks now, okay? I like to think that experiencing the good, the boy would have remained put right where he was. Thanked God for the goodness that was coming through these people, right? Observed it, watched what was happening, and thanked God for the good that was coming through these people, and allowed himself a moment of gratitude and appreciation, saying, wow, they are really giving themselves to God right now. And they are really yielding to God's transformative power in them right now. And this is really good. But he would have done that standing right where he was. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm filling in the blanks now. But I would be interested at some point to explore in the scriptures how Jesus carried himself with people. Because if it tells us he did not entrust himself to men, how then did he interact with them? Because there were those that were close to him that it seemed like he had a close relationship with.
Yeah.
So much more to explore there. But we don't have any time left.
We don't. So pray for us, brother.
Okay. Lord Jesus, I thank you for your protective hand, that you love us enough to remind us that we are still being transformed and that we're still in process. And helping one another. Thank you that you are helping in this realization, helping us to extend grace and compassion towards one another. Not in distrust or skepticism, but an understanding and a sobriety that leads to compassion and to grace being extended. Because it is true, we are like sheep without a shepherd sometimes, and we are tattered, still being transformed. Thank you for helping us to be sober about the current state that we're in, and help us to yield to you further so that we would reflect you more perfectly. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Good ep. Thanks for being here on another journal entry, guys.
Love you guys.
See you next week or next time or next episode or whatever next.
Next day.
Next.